G'day Rankers, welcome back. It's been interesting times. I've been as busy as heck with our agency operating system, which is, we're basically rolling out a system internally. So everyone's working on Hermes, which is my agentic harness, and it creates superpowers for me. So it should be creating superpowers for the rest of my staff. And what we can achieve with that system now is blowing my mind. But I wanted to talk to you about because we've been deep in this now for nearly 4 years and transforming what we do. And 3 years ago, I said here on this channel that we as a team need to replace ourselves with AI. And we've done that now. So the work that we were doing 3 years ago is now done by our agents. And it's been really fascinating for me to watch what other digital marketers are out there saying. And, you know, we've seen these two camps split or emerge. The SEOs and the AI bros. And there's been this sort of infighting. And they've both been claiming a lot of stuff. SEOs are basically saying, hey, nothing's changed with AI and search visibility. And the AI bros are saying SEO is dead. Well, they're both wrong. and a lot of them are relying on a system, and they're selling a system that is essentially broken. And that is this idea of AI citations. How many times your brand appears when they fire a gobload of prompts at a particular platform, usually ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. And then they look at those prompts and then they count all the mentions of your brand and then they sell you a lovely dashboard, which is useless because this is something we tried 3 years ago. We thought, and every SEO seems to be thinking that, or AI bro seems to be thinking that at the moment, is that, we need to see how our brands are found in these platforms, just like we did with Google. You know, we're trying to take that SEO square peg and stick it into the AI round hole. It's just not going to work because there's a whole bunch of problems with this system. As we learned when I built this thing 3 years ago, and that was every model gives you a different result. And at the moment, I'm using 6 results. And not only that, when I go into it, if I take a single prompt, you can try this yourself. If I take a single prompt and I go and put it into GPT 5.5, I go and put it into Fable 5, which I've got back sort of this morning. If I go and put it into Gemini, AI mode, Grok, Quen, Perplexity, well, there's 7 models. Every one of them is going to be different. And guess what? That's not all. Because what you've just done, if you've just gone and done that and you've seen all that, that's not what these AI citation systems are doing. They're using the application programming interface, the API. So their systems are talking to the AI platforms via a programming interface. So they're not having the same experience as people who are using these platforms. Like, for instance, ChatGPT, I've got all these different projects set up. All those different projects will have a project level prompt in them. All those citations, there's none of that. In my platforms, I've got memory in ChatGPT, in Claude, there's memory. The API doesn't see any of that. It doesn't see my system prompts. It doesn't see my history. It doesn't see the memory. And not only that, so I've just rattled off 7 models that I use regularly. Different between all the models. They're not seeing the same thing as you and I are seeing. And in addition to that, a new model comes out like Fable 5 or ChatGPT 5.6, which is coming out this week. That dashboard becomes useless because it's all just noise now because now there's a new model. So which one are you going to optimize for? You can't optimize for one and you can't optimize for all of them. So the only logical approach to this, and it's the same approach we've always had to digital marketing for the last 10 years, and that is optimize the input, right? So what's the input? What's durable over all of these platforms? Search, AI, everything. What's durable for an organization? It's the brand. It's always the brand. It's always been the brand, right? And brand, when people talk about brand, there's a whole bunch of stuff around that, right? And when I talk about brand, and when I said this back in early 2023, when ChatGPT got access to the internet, I said, you're going to have to double down your brand and build your lists. And look, you can go back and watch that, and I've said that. And the reason for that is it's going to be harder as we move forward for your brand to stand out in the minds of the consumer, because they're not going to be maybe going to your website, right? So all the things around brand, and this is brand promotion, so we know, and we've shown you since 2018 with definitive data that shows that when you get more people looking for your brand, guess what happens? All your non-branded queries start ranking higher in Google, and we learned that 10 years ago. So the same applies to a certain extent in AI. All these platforms fail if they're not surfacing the major brand in a specific category. And that category might be southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, private girls' schools. That might be the category that you have to capture, right? So the brand has always been the most durable asset. And we've seen, we did experiments, but we've seen clients do experiments where they'll run even just a radio ad in a particular market for their brand, and their non-branded traffic ranks higher, search goes up, and that's because you're getting in the front of mind of the consumer. So it doesn't have to be this thing that we call digital PR, which is a lot of the time I think people creating backlinks. It just needs to be PR, because if there's no backlinks on radio, television, and certainly a lot of the major publishing sites in Australia, you're not going to get a backlink. But you want their coverage, and you want people talking about you, but it's also aftermarket. When I get your package, is there branding on the package? Is there a QR code for reordering? All of that sort of stuff. And the digital marketing that I'm seeing is ignoring that and saying, how many times is your brand mentioned in this particular prompt when I prompt? It's busted. The other side of the equation, of course, is making sure that your site and your well-branded site is sending the right message and the clear and concise message to agents that are accessing your site on behalf of their shoppers. Because the roles have changed slightly, where we've got a shopper that uses an agent to go and find stuff for them. Like I will start all my shopping research in something like Hermes if I'm looking for software or hardware or anything like that, because it has all the context about my business. It knows my history for the last 3 months, 4 months now I've been using this system. So the memory is incredible. So it knows all about me. So I will start sort of purchasing decisions from there. Now, if your site is blocking your returns policy, is blocking your shipping policy, is blocking terms and conditions, privacy, all of those sorts of things, like a lot of Shopify sites do, and a lot of other e-commerce sites don't even have these things. Well, that makes that experience, your policies, blind to the shopper, because they're not visiting the website, and you're blocking their agent from seeing those policies. So SEOs aren't going to talk about this, ads people aren't going to talk about this, UX people aren't going to talk about this, because unless you're focused on optimizing the input for all of this, you're not going to see these things. And here's a new TLA for you, in case you don't know what a TLA is. It's a 3-letter acronym, but AXO, Agent Experience Optimization. That's what I think of now when I'm thinking about a site. Has this got the right schema on this page? Has it got the right information? Hopefully that's helpful. If you're interested in any of this information, then please hit me up, jim@stewartmedia.com.au. And remember, please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends wherever you have seen this video. Thanks very much, and we will see you soon. I don't know how soon, because I've got so many AI projects on the go at the moment. Thanks very much. Bye.